You gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between. You gotta spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum, have faith or pandemonium's liable to walk upon the scene. Accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, and latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between.
My name's Adam, and I've spent the last 20 years of my career leading, growing, and building companies and teams for lasting impact. It would be my honor to come alongside you and help you to do the same thing. Whether it's in the corporate world, a brand new small business startup, or a 100-year-old family business, I've seen it and I've led it. Starting with defining your purpose beyond profit, we unlock strategies across every part of your business so that we can arrive at what I call asymmetric endurance, allowing you to get your time back while the business continues to grow, succeed, and achieve its true purpose. If you're ready to build an unbreakable business, let's talk. Book 15 minutes with me today at kingdommindsetstrategies.com.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to Miracles Online Podcast. This is the podcast that brings you topics on relationships, dating, commitment, marriage, and love. And we're so glad you're here with us. I'm your host. My name is Jeff, and this is...
I'm Kat.
And Kat is going to tell us what is today's podcast about.
So happy to do that, Jeff.
No, we haven't been drinking, if that's what you're wondering.
Welcome to episode 32. So let me ask you something. What if your divorce isn't the end of your love story? Because it isn't. And what if it was the beginning of the next and more deeper, honest chapter in your life? That's what we're going to talk about today. And we've got lots of good information to share with you.
So this is dating again after divorce. After you have the love of your life and you go through this incredible event and then it fell apart.
For whatever reason. And whether you were divorced for 3 months or 30 years, it's devastating either way. And so what I want to start off with is what makes dating after divorce feel so fragile, Jeff? And some of the things that I want to touch on, some of the common fears are rejection, of course, judgment, comparisons to the ex, of course, or fear of repeating patterns, maybe that you've identified. And how do you navigate that vulnerability without letting fear drive?
I think number one is how long were you married and how old were you when you were married? I think those two things matter because my first marriage was when I was 20 and it lasted 3 months. So everybody tells me, including...
That should have been an annulment.
Yeah, even Kat says, that's not really marriage. Listen, it's all in the focus in your mindset.
It's a mental, absolutely.
If I got a marriage certificate, we went to a judge, we got married. And I got a divorce lawyer and I paid the lawyer. We got divorced. And the whole thing behind that, when that finished, I will say this, I felt liberated, although I was really sad. I kid you not. I felt like I failed myself by taking that big step because everybody looked at me at 20 was like, what are you doing?
Sure, it's young.
Well, because it came to the point where at that point I joined a band that was signed and I had this beautiful girlfriend that was just treated me like I have no other relationship that ever felt that way before. And that changed me quite a bit in regards to the dedication to this one person. However, as soon as I felt that it was so safe and my career is moving that maybe it's the next level to being a grown-up, let's get married. And that's where my paradigm crashed because I got married thinking that that was the thing to do. And that is the wrong thing to do.
And to your defense, honey, and I'll say this, I say this on many episodes, your prefrontal cortex was not developed yet. So,
Well, granted, but the thing was that I remember distinctively thinking to myself, I'm going to move out the house now because I got a signed band. I got a girlfriend, and this girlfriend's going to take care of all the financial stuff because I was teaching and playing. So all my monies and efforts were going into that. And she was okay with it. And try to find someone that was okay with that, to me, was hard. Everybody else wasn't really like that. And all the other girls I was dating at that point was just about fun, party, rock and roll lifestyle. This one wanted to have me. So I felt that was acceptance. But the interesting thing is that as soon as we got married, I felt extremely basically betrayed because everything changed within a week from the greatest girlfriend to now the most possessed wife.
Oh.
That, I couldn't go to the mailbox to check mail because it was by the pool and other girls may hit on me. I was like, what kind of logic is that? I was checking mail before we got married in this apartment. So needless to say, that started compounding things. And by third month, I was like, this isn't going to work. And I wasn't willing to put up a lifetime of that at age 20. So once I did that, that night, I remember distinctively in my parents' house, I told her I wasn't going to go back home with her and I was done and we're over. She couldn't believe it. And I kicked her out of the house and I went in my room and I proceeded to play guitar. And I played probably just some of the saddest blues I remember I've ever played. And that emotion poured out. And what it did is that it allowed me to kind of healed myself in a sense of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I would say this, I didn't get back into the market to go, okay, I'm ready to really find the love of my life. No, after that experience, I think I went to a hog wild. You know what? I'm just going to have my rock star lifestyle. And I had a great time for years because I just could not bring trust back into myself.
Sure.
Including trusting other people.
Sure.
So that was my biggest obstacle about dating right after. And I would say the key thing
is trust.
Yeah. Here, you can't do that.
Hmm.
So the reason why we at the point of where the trust became tainted is because that I knew I made a mistake at that age doing that and thinking that I needed to grow up, and that's the wrong thing.
Yeah, you really didn't trust yourself and your judgment.
Well, I trusted it until it failed.
Point, at that point.
Then when it came back, I made a definitive decision. I'm nowhere near getting to serious again.
Absolutely. So you retreated. But for those of you who are ready, and my story, of course, is much different because I had children. 3 children. So that kind of takes your focus. I wasn't doing a rock band, and that was my focus.
No, but you had your first marriage was fairly young. So when that ended, that actually went through the whole process of divorce and everything.
Yes.
So how did you then proceed to the dating pool, or if there's any time off?
Oh, absolutely. So my biggest focus was to keep a child alive and to keep them fed and a house over their head, because I was very young when I had my first child. I was not quite 19, turned 20 2 months later. So I've told you this, Jeff, before that having a child threw me into a whole different level of, wow, I have to be responsible for a human being here. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I was young and not a rock star. I was like, I could just be a bum on the beach. That would suit me fine. Yeah. Love the ocean. Different story when you have a life that depends on you. Mm-hmm. So with Tanya, it was very much, okay, quite a few years of that self-reflection, that what we called in the last episode, soul mirroring. Like, okay, I understood the fragile dynamic of wanting to fix. Mm-hmm. So my first husband was, he's, of course, he was an Italian and extremely good looking, but he was a bad boy. And so that was kind of attractive. And I thought all he needs is someone to love him, and, that'll turn him around.
Yeah.
And we all know how that story turns
Right.
out. So that was, again, my prefrontal cortex was not developed. And so kind of in a nutshell, I spent years reflecting, healing, not only from a bad choice in a marriage,
Right.
but healing from my childhood wounds, etc. Doing a lot of reading, a lot of soul searching. I took that time to do that before I was back in the field, if you will. That came
Right.
years later.
So did you feel like there was an aspect of rebounding? What was there just a time where you says, hey, I'm going to have some fun and not having to think serious about relationships?
Absolutely. And, it was kind of a wild and crazy time in the 70s and so forth. So, it was girls just want to have fun. I wasn't really looking for a serious, and of course I always had friends trying to hook me up, and, and eventually actually my next husband was a hookup from a friend. And that marriage lasted 7 years.
Yeah.
And
well, one of the
more
things
kids.
I definitely want to bring up to our audience here is be attentive and pay attention. If you're now going on a date with someone who's recently divorced, make sure you communicate well, because is there's a rebound relationship, from that party.
And it's not to say that there are rules, and we're going to talk about that, because you can rewrite the rules. There's some outdated.
Well, yeah, you can rewrite
rules,
rules,
but you definitely, to your point, you definitely want to make sure you're not, and make sure they're not rebounding.
Well, that's my point. If
and
you're
that
dating
has,
somebody
yes,
else,
and that has little to do with time.
Yeah.
Little to do with the clock or calendar. It has to do with, have you done the work on the last relationship? It could be quick for some and take longer for others. But
don't be afraid to ask, though. That to me is the key factor about, if you're dating a recent divorcee, I would definitely ask the question. I'm very direct. I'm sure you guys out there in the audience know this, that the best thing is to put the best foot forward and say, okay, are you looking for a rebound relationship? Where are you at with your psyche about all this? I don't know if if that turns people off by asking something.
Well,
so direct.
I think you can be direct, maybe not use the word rebound, because then you're kind of labeling what they are, because it may look on paper as a rebound, but the conversation, Jeff, might go deeper and go, I just got my divorce finalized. Because I know this, with my first marriage, I didn't have money to even file the papers. It took about 4 years. We were separated for like 4 years before I could actually make it final. So it might be a conversation like that. Well, we haven't lived together for over 4 years. We just finally, got the paperwork together. Is that a rebound? Well, it might sound if you just say my divorce was just final last week, but in actuality, when you go deeper in the conversation, they, more than likely had done the work.
That relationship is ended a long time ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you get what I'm saying on that?
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, that's my point, is having the communication level opened up. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be thinking, oh, that person's recently divorced. I don't want to rattle any cages. I don't want to, cause anything that's going to ruin this relationship. If you have that's being driven by fear. You don't want that. And you don't want to be able to not say something because you don't want to, disturb and ruin something. I just know that if you start to do that in the way you communicate, then you're never upfront. You're never honest 100%.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that. If you want a great relationship, you cannot ever sit there and be reserved and pull stuff back in the sense of that, unless it's personal attack. Oh, I don't like the way your fingernails look. I mean, that's just mean. So
that's just mean.
But realistically, the point about communication is that don't ever be afraid to talk about something that's sensitive, especially when it comes from a relationship point of view.
Absolutely. And it'll give you a good barometer. That's what, you're looking for, which you should be looking for, someone who can, and gaining trust can take time.
Yes.
some longer than others, but you want to have some level, some gauge to know, are they a willing partner to share their most vulnerable parts of themselves, and you as well.
And
Absolutely.
that part, too, is you open up that communication. You're kind of now also, having a opportunity to kind of look at how the other party is going to respond. Your significant other, your dating, partner, however you want to put it, by addressing the recent divorce and the last, relationship, that marriage. You're not hiding anything. And if that person is really sensitive, I really don't want to talk about this. I really don't want to talk about that. That could set a precedent of going through a lifetime of, I don't want to talk about anything uncomfortable.
Yep.
And what happens then is we never talk would be the next statement between the fallouts of that relationship. You never, come clean with me. That's, that's another thing. Why are you never telling me what's bothering you?
Right.
Yeah, and that never works. And I will say that from definitely,
because your partner can't read your mind.
Yeah, despite of how close you may, if you're constantly shutting yourself off when it becomes painful, that is doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing your relationship a disservice by not letting that pain heal, not letting that negative energy out and talk about what actually hurts so bad about it. What this is my very first. I lost my virginity to my husband, and after 15 years, there was infidelity. I just can't believe how I was betrayed. And now after 3 years, I'm back, and I'm just not quite sure I'm ready for it. So as a guy dating a woman that has that kind of dynamic, I kind of want to know that, because I surely don't want to pour all my heart out and overwhelm this person if I know this person is not ready for it.
Absolutely. And that's where, Jeff, that's a good point, where healthy boundaries, you need to create healthy boundaries. And what do they look like in a post-divorce dating situation?
Tell us, Mr. Professor, what is the boundary?
and only you know what those boundaries are. By communicating, I think you'll
Well, give us an example. What would be your boundary?
Well, as a single mother divorced and dating, I definitely had boundaries around my children.
Okay. So needless to say that I passed the boundary test,
Well, you did, because you've heard me say, a gentleman that I was dating previously, I would make him park his car 2 blocks away.
That got old real quick.
If he was going to come in through the slider door in my bedroom, no one was going to know.
That was Netflix and chill long before that.
No neighbor or kids were going to know. So, that was one of, I would say, my major boundaries.
Sneak around? Not be.
No, protect your children.
Okay, protect your children.
Yeah, protect your children.
Okay. So when you were dating on the dating pool before we met, was that ever popped up in regards to, talking to the date, and you're kind of getting to know them?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how would that, oh, you have kids. Tell me about your kids.
Well, that was right up front, because it's a package deal.
Right. Well, it always is. Nobody's going to go into a, relationship and go, oh, by the way, you have kids. I'm sorry. I like to marry you, but you got a grandparents or somebody you can send the kids off to.
I mean, and that's where it comes down to making peace with those beautiful non-negotiables, and giving yourself permission to stick to those.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that. You can read about it in Miracles Online, the book.
QR code right here.
QR code right there. The non-negotiables, and whether you're coming out of a divorce or just dating, even more so coming from a divorce, going through the healing, etc., in trying to reconnect your identity outside of the previous marriage, you want those healthy boundaries. And maybe some of that pain that you went through, you've now developed some new guidelines, some new boundaries, some different ones. Because, life is all about us really determining and defining and discovering what it is we'll accept, what it is we won't, and really refining who we are, and refining our principles, and where they stand, and where we'll let someone in and be accepting, of where they're at with their principles.
So
and
with
values.
that, how do you prepare to date after divorce? Like, do you have a recommendation that, you should take 6 months off?
Jeff, it's not a calendar. There's no timeline. The timeline is different for everyone. Okay. So if you've done the work on yourself, you've done the healing, you've sat down and done the soul mirror reflection, you've done your negotiables and non-negotiables, you've reflected on, the dynamics of your relationship and why it broke up, because there's two involved. There's always, back to okay, what's the 30% maybe I was responsible for?
So assume responsibility is part of the divorce, the fail of the marriage.
I believe it is.
A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people blame.
Well, of course, it's easier just to point fingers and blame.
I blame my first wife.
Really?
Yeah,
completely.
Completely.
No, but you just said, yeah, you're making that up because
no, I'm not making it up. I'm telling you that I used to believe that.
You were, yes, but you used to. That's the difference.
Now I just think I was a stupid kid at that.
Exactly.
But at that time,
reflection, sure, at that time, of course, it's easy to go, oh, she's just, turned into somebody else.
Well, what it was, she turned to somebody else that was extremely insecure. Because
you didn't see,
and that part didn't make sense to me.
You didn't see the signs of that insecurity.
Well, explain to me, how do you date somebody with no insecurity, but yeah, when you commit to somebody, also there's insecurity of losing it?
How long did you date before you were married? For
about
3
a year.
Months? Oh, you did.
I've known her over a year.
Ah, okay. Well, you were dating your kids. You're dating. You're having fun. There's no, you come home at night, she leaves, back and forth, there's none of that.
No, there wasn't that kind of maturity at all.
Exactly. So there was no playground for her to show her insecurities because you were just dating.
we had plenty of insecurity. I just think that from the bigger picture that I looked at later, I come to find out this was basically a strategy from her end. She was going to marry the guitar player.
Oh, okay.
So, again, my point to her that dating again after that was going to be hard just due to the fact that I felt betrayal. So for anybody out there who went through a divorce in a serious relationship, feeling betrayal and coming out of it, the hardest part, yes, it's about getting back into the dating pool and then trusting. So how do you fix that?
Exactly. But yours is a prime example, Jeff, that, and this is where it really isn't contingent upon, well, I think 2 weeks will do it. If you're really, meditating and praying and doing your negotiables and non-negotiables, you can have it cracked out in 2 weeks and you're ready for the dating pool. Okay. Or does it take 6 years or 2 years or 3 months? Yeah. It really depends. I don't know if you remember when the light bulb went on to you and you went, oh, I guess it wasn't really all her fault. I was a pretty immature kid.
No, that never came on.
Well, at some time it had to come up. Yeah. So the bottom line is, do the work, do the self-reflection, be brave enough to go and look at the situation objectively. Yeah. And even the worst thing is being betrayed. You were betrayed in
my own mind in that sense. She didn't cheat on me or anything.
Right.
I just felt that she gave up the sense of loving me unconditionally.
Exactly. She changed who she was, and you fantasized that it might be strategic. It may or may not have been strategic.
Well, it's not fantasy.
I can imagine being betrayed and your partner cheating on you.
Let me tell the world on how I fixed that, though.
Okay.
It took years. I mean,
that's what I was trying to get at. When did the light bulb go on?
It took decades. But
Okay.
but it took a decade of going through the craziness of I'm not ever going to trust somebody to failing a life for me to having to go seek help, then to understand where I was having a void within me, an abandonment and trusting issues, and from that to heal myself before I was able to then get back on the road of opportunity and refinement and then reassurance for me to be healthy enough to recognize I was going to be ready for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were ready for me. And that's a point that, I'd like to make is, be healed before you hook up.
Yes.
Know and recognize when you're dating to heal versus dating because you are healed. And Jeff it took him a long time, but he was very young and he was ready. Okay. So it's,
and I will say this though, it wasn't like I just went from the marriage and then just goofed around. And then finally I just decided, okay, I'm ready to marry. I actually had a couple of serious relationships for maybe a couple of years here and there that it just didn't work out because again, timing was not right. I didn't fix myself enough yet to really recognize that.
So you saw patterns, and we've mentioned this on other episodes. When you're doing your soul reflection and your inner work in between relationships, look for patterns because oftentimes if you're having a multitude of failed relationships, once you get still and you do your soul reflection, you'll have an aha to where, I see a pattern. And then you can direct yourself to heal, which is, and oftentimes it's, from way back, inner child work that needs to be healed before you can come whole and, not try to get into a relationship that will fix you because that never is a success story.
Right. Well, and then again, let me say this, that to heal yourself is instrumental for you to become well enough to accept and open to a healthy relationship. Now, the other side of the coin is if you're dating somebody, don't be afraid to ask the other side, have you taken some actions, initiatives to see about repairing this, mistrust, this void or this hurt, and see how they answer. If they answered you back very honestly and truthfully, then there's going to be a chance of that heart opening.
If you have a dialogue, absolutely. And it's not finger pointing or you trying to be an armchair psychologist.
Right.
Obviously, if they've shared with you, I've been betrayed, and especially if it's fidelity, but there's lots of, types of betrayal.
Yeah.
But that's, that's a valid question to ask. So, tell me, it's been 3 years or it's been 2 years or maybe it's been 6 months. How have you, what steps have you taken to heal that mistrust?
Right.
And if that individual says, well, I'm still really super pissed and I'm drinking more than I should, whatever, you'll see the signs. Then
that person's not ready. Yeah. And you don't want to spin your wheels in the mud.
Right.
So that's, to me, a huge key in an importance of opening that to see if you were compatible with.
Absolutely. Because none of us has time or inclination to heal people.
No, it's not our job, first of all.
Again, back when you're 19, 18, 17, you're not mature enough to know. And so that's kind of can be a natural inclination, but it's an immature one. As a mature individual, you know that if they're needing healing, that's a self job. They need to work on that themselves. And you can pray for them and wish them the best, but move on.
Yeah, you're looking for that person that's going to say, I'm going to open up my heart and share with you how much I was hurt. If you have someone who's willing to do that, then there's a chance that this can fruit and flower into something great because they're willing to give you that side of the vulnerability, the side of the trust that they so-called gave to someone else and that other person broke it.
Absolutely.
So now they're going to hand it to you and see how you're going to handle it. And if you don't recognize it, then shame on you. But if you do recognize it, embrace it slowly. This is not a race. Be patient. Understand that level of the betrayal and the hurt that the other person have. Empathize and share maybe your own personal stories of something that you understand deeply because it's happened to me before.
Absolutely.
We all understand that.
We've all been through that. Now, in this episode, we're not talking about blended families and having kids, but check out previous episode.
What, Brady Bunch?
Our Brady Bunch.
Where did that
our
come
Brady
from?
Bunch episode. Well, because divorced, it's
Yeah.
we only have 30 minutes here, so we didn't talk about the blended family and how
Yeah,
to
that's a
navigate
different
that.
episode.
That's another episode, but you can find that
Yes.
on here.
What we try to do
Absolutely.
is we want to give everybody in the audience an opportunity to kind of discuss and reflect and basically communicate. This is why we ask you to like, subscribe, and share. Share is very important in this, because if we don't do the aspect of communication, then we really never break down these walls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to whiz through this very quickly.
What
Our
do you
last
listen?
point is the rules, and
Wow.
the rules are for you to rewrite. So there are no rules. So we're going to debunk some outdated advice for divorcees, okay, and how to craft your own sacred rules. So number one, we mentioned this about timing. Wait X number of years before dating again. That's outdated. Okay, it isn't about a calendar. It's about emotion. It's about your emotional readiness.
Mhm.
Some people heal in months. Some people take years.
Some people never heal.
Yep.
Know that.
So just, ask yourself, am I ready to date from wholeness,
Yeah.
not from fear
That's
or
right.
loneliness?
Right.
Okay. Number two, don't mention your divorce. It's baggage. Bunk. That's totally outdated.
No, talk about it.
Yeah, because that promotes shame and secrecy.
Right.
And your divorce is part of your story.
Yeah.
Okay.
No question.
It's not a scarlet letter.
No, not at all.
So the modern wisdom is share your journey with grace and honesty.
Yes.
And when the time is right, vulnerability can be magnetic
Mhm.
when it's grounded in healing, not when it's coming from, lack and you haven't done your healing. Number three, you'll only get one great love in your life. We've talked about that. That is outdated. This belief closes the heart and keeps people stuck in grief or guilt. So you may have had a wonderful marriage and thought, I'll never meet someone again, but you will. And the modern wisdom is love can evolve. It can surprise. It can arrive again in new and even richer forms. Your heart is renewable, and so is your capacity to love.
Well, I'm going to say and add this to the great love of your life. You can have a great love of your life and fail, but what you're not embracing, if you hold on to it, is that was a great love. In front of you is going to be the greatest love of your life if you're open to it. So that's important to understand where your heart is. And with that, are you ending with a poem?
I am.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up with a poem, and we're going to ask you again, like and subscribe Miracles Online Podcast and share it to your friends. We have our own Rumble channel, up and running now. So you can find us at Rumble under Miracles Online Podcast. Of course, this is different than what we were broadcasting. Everything's streamed and it's streamed through Red Pill TV, redpills.tv.
Redpills.tv.
So Red Pill Media.
TV.
And this is definitely been a huge asset for all of us to see the audience through the Red Pill Media. And then, of course, buy the book. We all have books, not just this book. I also have books there, 365 Method. At
Yayou publishing.com. You can find my book as well as other books that we have put in the pool.
That's right. And sign up for our Substack so that way you can see some of the things that we answer to, and also some of the feedback that we have, as well as more stuff that didn't make onto the podcast that goes in there. So that is Miracles Online CatJeff.substack. Okay. And here comes the poem.
And with that, this is called, Jeff, Permission to Begin Again. I thought the book was closing. A love story marked the end. But life had other chapters, and healing came like a friend. Not all wounds scream they're breaking. Some whisper through the day, but each tear taught me gently what love should never take away. I'm not starting over. I'm starting wiser, whole. I'm not chasing a warm body, but one that meets my soul. The rules they gave were rigid. Don't share too much, play it cool. But I have no use for masks now. I've lived and loved and ruled. So here I stand, not desperate, but open strong and true. I've made peace with all my yesterdays, and now I choose someone who will too.
That's fantastic. And with that, I want to wish you a fantastic, fantastic day, as well as thank you so much for being part of our podcast. And with that, I'm going to let Kingdom Mindset Strategy take us out, and then we'll see you on the next Miracles Online podcast.
Sealed with a kiss. Bye.
Well done. You've done something that most people only ever dream about. You've started and kept a business alive, and that's a huge achievement and one you should be proud of. Now, I want to help you make that business unbreakable. My name's Adam, and I've spent the last 20 years of my career leading, growing, and building companies and teams for lasting impact. Whether it's in the corporate world, a brand new small business startup, or a 100-year-old family business, I've seen it and I've led it. And what I've learned is building an unbreakable business often requires similar ingredients: clear financial insights, well-built systems, streamlined growth strategies, and optimized operations. Starting with defining your purpose beyond profit, we unlock strategies across every part of your business so that we can arrive at what I call asymmetric endurance, allowing you to get your time back while the business continues to grow, succeed, and achieve its true purpose. If you're ready to build an unbreakable business, let's talk. Book 15 minutes with me today at kingdommindsetstrategies.com.